Today we take a look at an easy way to get hot water into your wetsuit by using a propane-fired campsite water heater and how to set it up to run good for dredging. After, I take an in-depth view on how I made my own heat exchanger running off the Dredge motor exhaust. Then we head out for a test on an ice-cool lake. All coming up now on AGP. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about wetsuit heaters, and I'm going to show you two different kinds. The first one, and by far the most easiest one, is this instant hot water fired by propane. So this is something you would use for, like, they sell it for like camping, if you need some hot water at your campsite or something. This is by far the easiest way to get hot water while you're dredging, I think, but there's a couple downsides to it. The first is you need propane, obviously. So if the river's not too far away from the road or something, and you can easily haul in those propane bottles, then this by far is the easiest choice. Especially if you're only dredging for a couple days, like 2-3 days, you know, propane's by far the easiest way to go. But the downside to that is if I notice if I'm way out in the woods somewhere, if I'm, you know, sometimes I'll be 20, 30, 40 miles away from any town at all. So if I'm dredging for more than 3 days, I usually run out of the propane, and then you have to go to town and get some more. So it's kind of a pain in the ass that way. The other thing too is some places where I go, I'm deep down into a valley. So in the morning I gotta walk, you know, really far down into a valley, and if I need to bring propane down every day, you know, that's a pain in the butt, because every day you need to bring all your other stuff like lunch and maybe some tools or whatever you're doing. So you always got like a backpack on and some other things, you know, a can of gas for your dredge, and then now I got to bring propane down there too. And those bottles are pretty heavy, you know. So yeah, the downside is if you're far away from the road, or if you got to travel down anywhere steep, anything like that. So bringing the propane in is a pain in the butt. And the other thing too is the cost. Like I said, if you're just dredging for a couple days here and there, then, you know, it's no big deal. But if you're dredging a lot, I tend to notice I use maybe about 10 pounds of propane per day if I'm dredging, you know, 6 hours straight, and I have this thing cranked the whole time. So one propane bottle will last 2 days, you know, and that's pretty much $10 a day in propane. So when I first got this propane heater, I had a few problems. It kept on turning on, turning off, and it wouldn't run all day. But after a few modifications, it now works great. I have it dialed in. The main thing you need to do is when you buy this brand new, on the water inlet side there's a screen. You want to remove that screen out of the unit itself, and then add your own water filter. This one's a much larger filter, and you can easily clean it. Just take this off and it cleans out good. So you got your water inlet coming in from the dredge, goes through the filter, and then into the unit. It fires, and then use this hose to go down your wetsuit. So that's pretty much how it works. But when I first got it, the screen in there kept clogging really easy, and it's difficult to get in there and unclog it because it's like up into the pipe. It's not really made to be clean, you know. It's not easy access. So I just ripped that screen out. And after I did that, I had plenty of water flow, and it would fire great, but then it would still turn on and off. And I came to find out it was just the wind. The wind comes in the side vents here and blows it out, or it has a hard time firing because, you know, there's like a little spark in there, and then if it's too windy, the gas will take off and it just doesn't fire. So what I found this like big heavy-duty plastic bucket, and it stands upright on its own. You don't really have to do anything. But if it's a windy day, I'll put some rocks in the bottom here just to hold it tight to the ground. So when the wind blows, you know, you face it into the wind, so the wind blows, so this is pretty much sheltered inside to keep it out of the wind. So with the wind blocked, the water screen removed, this thing works awesome. It'll work all day, no problem at all. But like I said, the only downside again is the propane, you know. When I go to places I'm right next to the road, if I'm only going to be there for a day or two, I'll definitely use this. This is great. But for those other areas that I go to where I'm way out in the woods, I need something a little bit better. I'm going to work on building an exhaust water heater off my dredge. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So let me show you that. So stock, it looks something like this. The stock muffler would just sit right up there. So I took this whole unit off, and I just cut it with the Sawzall because I needed this base part. So I just cut that off, cut it off the whole muffler, and I just needed this base. And I just cut it flush, took a grinder, grinded it all so it's nice and flat. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna have that go like that. And now I'm just going to use like a standard pipe you get at the hardware store. I don't know the exact measurement yet, but pretty much this is going to come right out of here. And I got my welder, and I'm just going to weld this onto this. I'm just going to weld this on to here. This is I think 3/4 inch, and it's a little bit bigger than the pipe here. So maybe maybe this hole I think is 5/8 or something. But I ported it out a little bit just to get some little better exhaust flow. That's how it's going to go on the motor. I'm going to put this here. So yeah, I'm going to weld it together. I'm going to need to measure exactly how far I need, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this fire extinguisher that I had. I had this just laying around. So what I did is I cut the end off with the bandsaw. Just cut this right in half so I can access the inside. And what I did on this end, I took the handle off of it. Found another piece of pipe. It didn't quite fit in there, so I just took a welder and I welded that piece of pipe right in there so it's good and strong, and then I just used a right angle, another piece. So basically what this is going to do, well, let me start with this. So I've seen a lot of people go straight up with their cans. Now this is obviously a lot bigger than I've been seeing around, and if you go straight up with this one, like if you had the exhaust coming straight up right into there and heat your hot water, the problem is going to be is this is going to be like really heavy, and the motor is going to shake this, and you know you would need a whole bunch of brackets and supports to have this upright like this, being this big. And the other thing I don't like having it straight up out of the motor is if you get a leak, if one of these coils breaks and gets a leak or something, all the water is just going to go right down straight into the exhaust port in your motor and fry your motor. So what I'm going to try is something a little bit new. Is I just took like a whole bunch of foam. It was like a foam mat or something like that, and I just cut it. There's 3 pieces here. I glued it together. So now what I got on my Dredge motor is coming off the pump. I got this Y pipe for the blaster nozzle, and this one goes straight to my pressure line on the sluice box. But so I got this big nice area right here, and I figured why not try putting the coils something like this. So I got that laying down. I can lay this right on top of that, and this prevents all the vibration and stuff. That's going to absorb all the vibration. And as far as heat goes, if this gets hot, what I got here is header wrap. So this is made to go right around exhaust pipe on like race cars and stuff. So this is just like a wrap. So I'm gonna wrap this all the way around the fire extinguisher here before I put it on this mat. So that should control the temperature, so nothing should melt. So yeah, so basically on the exhaust here, it's closer. So this is going to come straight down to the exhaust. It's going to come right out of there, and then you know I got to cut it to the right size. But the exhaust is going to come out here, through here, and on this inside here, I'm going to have my coils. So this right here is just this is 50 feet of 1/4 inch inside diameter copper coil. So I did one coil all the way down, and then I did another coil coming all the way back up. So basically what this is going to do is the exhaust is going to go through here, right through the center of all these coils, and hopefully heat up the water enough where I can use it in my wetsuit. But the problem is you can't just put this coil right in there. I mean, maybe you could, but I'm sure with the exhaust vibrating like this all the time, you know, it's not going to be a long time before the pipes the copper pipe here is going to wear away and spring a leak, and like I said, drop water down into your exhaust. So what I did is I'm going to try out this ceramic. This is called ceramic like fire blanket or something like that. This right here, this can get to 2300 degrees and it doesn't melt or anything. So I'm going to use this as like and it's soft like fiberglass, you know, it's really soft. So what I'm going to do is just wrap that and put it right inside of here, all wrapped up, and I already checked it and it's going to slide and fit right down in there. And then once all that's in there, I got to cut 2 holes for the pipes here, and then just re-weld this back on. Once I re-weld that back on, all I need to do is cut a couple holes for the exhaust to flow out, and that's pretty much how I'm gonna try to work this whole system here. So with the way the water is gonna work is this right here is my water pump. So the water is gonna come through here, and it's gonna go down into this water filter. This is a pretty large water filter here. So the water is gonna come in through here, get filtered, because you definitely don't want anything. This line's kind of small, so you know, a little tiny pebble could clog this line somewhere, and then the whole system won't work, or it's going to build up too much pressure, get too hot, and it's going to burn you, whatever. So number one key thing is have a water filter, which is right here. So the water's going to come in, get filtered, and coming off the end here, I need a T. So this T here, so let's say we're going to take this one. This we're going to say this is cold. Okay, so this right here, this is going to be my mixing tank. It's a little bit bigger than I normally see, but I figured if it's too big, I can just cut it and then repipe it together. So I'm just starting out big just to see what happens. So this will be a trial. Alright, so the way this is going to work is, let's use an example. This will be the cold water. So the water will just come through the pump, go through the filter, come out, and I got a control valve here to control the flow. If I want it colder or hotter, I can just use this to adjust the flow. So this will just come down into a pipe, like a braided vinyl pipe or something. It'll just come down and go right into here. So this will just fill this whole tank with cold water. So on the hot water side, like I said, this is just going to come through. Again, I'll use a PVC pipe or something. This will come through, go onto here. So the cold water will be pushed all through this pipe, heat up, come out. Hopefully it'll be pretty hot coming out of here. And then on this side, that hot water will just go into the other side of this, and then again I control the flow with the valve here. If I want it hotter or colder too, I can control how hot and cold it is. And then the hot water will just go into the other side, and then hopefully just mix the hot and cold right in this big chamber. And then coming out on the other side is just a regular standard hose connector. So I can just take a hose, like a garden hose, and just be able to stick that right down my wetsuit. And I can also control the flow with the valve on this too, is how much I want. So that's a plan. I don't know if it's going to work. This is just going to be kind of trial and error. I got all my parts here, so I just need to do some putting together, some fitting, and see if it'll work. Alright, so I just finished working on the heat exchanger here. Let me show you what's going on. So down in there we got the coils, and I got all the insulation packed all the way around it, going all the way down. And at the very bottom there, I put a layer laying down on the very bottom. And the hole in the bottom is going to be where the exhaust goes in, goes up. And hopefully the exhaust coming through there will heat all those coils up and come out the back here. So it's hard to do this one-handed. Here's the other end of it. So what I did is I just notched out these two notches for the copper hose here. Let me see if I can do this one-handed. So these are just going to go in like this. There we go. And in these holes right here, I'm just gonna fill it with RTV. Well, the high temp exhaust RTV sealant, like that silicone gasket stuff. and I'm going to try to make a hole, like I'm going to try to put that hose in the center like that, so the RTV will go all the way around it, and that should keep it from rubbing against that metal there. And for the rest of this, I'm just going to I'm not going to weld this whole thing. I'm just going to do like tacking. So I'm just going to tack like an inch, and then another couple inches down I'll do another inch. I don't want to weld the whole thing because I know I'm going to be taking this apart again. So I'm just going to make a couple tack welds, and then the rest of the sealant, well, the rest of the way I'm going to put the RTV sealant in between the two holes, because you know, I'm not sure how long this is going to last, so I want to be able to take it apart, and you know, I'll cut the welds and be able to fix it if I need to fix it, or even this copper line might be too small. I'm not sure. I just measured it, and it's a 1/4 inch on the outside diameter, so I don't know, maybe I'm not even sure how big that hole is, but definitely smaller than 1/4 inch, so it might be a little bit too small, but I don't know, we'll find out. So I might have to get back in there to put in a bigger copper. But yeah, that's it so far. So I got my copper line in there, and next step will be to weld it up. Alright, so here it is. I got all my welds set on. I did, I don't know, maybe 6 welds. Every couple inches I threw a weld on there. Like I said, I didn't want to seal the whole thing completely. It's probably not really necessary because this is a low pressure exhaust system. It's only a 5 horsepower motor, so you know, if this was a car or something, it would be different, but there's going to be low pressure coming through there. So I'm just going to fill the rest of these gaps. Well, I got to clean this off, sand it down, wire brush it, and then I'm going to use this red RTV high temp gasket maker stuff, and I'm just going to put a bead all the way around, and especially in these holes here, and that should do what I have to do. The only thing left is I'm going to have to drill some exhaust holes. I don't think I need a muffler, because this is like one big muffler basically, because it has all that insulation in there. The only thing I need to do is have some exhaust outlet, so I'll probably do a 1/4 inch, maybe 4 1/4 inch holes in here, and that should do it. But I want to do it in a way so that rainwater won't get in there if it starts raining or something, you know. So I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put the exhaust yet. I did put one hole in the very bottom, down over here, right there, for because when this is at an angle, just in case there's any leak from that exhaust pipe, or I'm sorry, from the water pipe here, if there's any leaks or condensation, or if any water gets into here, I'm gonna know, because it'll start dripping out of here, and it's better for it to come out of here than go straight down into the exhaust port of the motor. So so I already have 1 1/4 inch hole here, so I probably only need maybe 3 more up top here. I'll start with that and see how it does. And yeah, I'm almost done. See if this will work. So I'm going to try to squish it, force it into those seams. So I used a couple little weights, and this is just enough weight to have those copper lines right in the middle of those notches. So I'm going to fill the holes. Alright, so everything dried up overnight. All my silicone got nice and hard, and everything should work out pretty good. And so now I'm just test fitting the rest of the system. And my last piece I had to do is the final exhaust pipe here. What happened was, when I threaded this in, this wasn't the right threads. I don't know, it had some kind of, I don't know, millimeter thread or something. I don't know. I'm just using some stuff I had around. So I had to weld it in, and it didn't weld in straight, as I can see now, which kind of offsetted my pipe here. But I just I used a grinder, and I just kind of made an angle right there, and you know, it all fits together now. So all I got to do is weld this pipe to this exhaust flange, and the system should be 90% complete. I just got to hook up my water lines and then I'll go test it out. Alright, so I'm going to weld this up and take it from there. So I'm just going to put a little tack weld in place where I need it, and then I'm going to weld it off the motor. Alright, that should do it. I just put a little tack weld on here just so I know where all the angles are and everything, and made sure I had enough room to use these bolts right here. So I'll just weld this whole thing up and move on to the water system. That should do it. So here's the flange all welded up. I'm definitely not a welder, but I did my best, and it should work. Not too bad. That should hold everything, you know. Just a little 5 horsepower motor. Cool. Alright, so I'm going to fit this all back together and then work on the water system. So here it is, all snugged up. Everything looks good. Everything fits. Bolts went right on. And I forgot the one last thing I got to do is make an exhaust exit somewhere in the back here. I'm just thinking that you know, the hot air is going to rise, and I want the hot air to stay in here as much as possible. So I'm thinking I'm going to go a little bit lower with the exhaust holes. Maybe that will keep a lot of the hot air inside and have enough time to heat the coils, but that's just a guess. I'm not going to go all the way down in case it rains. You know, the water's going to come down in here and pool up and go back into the fire extinguisher. So I'll probably raise it up, and I'll probably put 3 drill holes, 1, 2, 3, a little triangle right here. We'll try that, see if that works. I can always add more holes if it doesn't. Alright, here it is all together. I think I'm ready to go test it out on the water. So just briefly what I did for the water lines here is I just had some heater hose kicking around, so I just used that. I think it's 3/8 line. So I just got the water coming out of the pump. I got a valve here to control the flow, and this is gonna cold water, goes into the fire extinguisher here, goes through the coils, comes back up as hot hopefully, and goes back down into the mixing tank. And then the other line is just cold water with a valve, and that just goes right down into the mixing tank. And hopefully the hot and cold water will mix up in there and then come out as warm on the other side of the tank there. Alright, here we are back at the lake here, and day 2 of my testing. Today it's actually snowing out, so it's still very cold. I made some improvements. I fixed that exhaust leak. What happened was the weld was in the way of the bolt, so the bolt didn't go all the way down, even though I thought it was because it was hitting the weld. So I fixed that area, so hopefully there's no exhaust leak there. And I put this header wrap around the pipe and around this part of the fire extinguisher. And yeah, so I'm gonna see how it does now. I've been running for maybe about 3 minutes now, and I already see steam coming off that water. Let's go check the temp. About 95 still. Just show you how fast the water goes in. That's the flow. And now it's full. Flow's not great, but not bad. Alright, so the water is at about 95. That's right where I guessed it yesterday. But I'm only about 3 minutes into it, so we'll see how hot we can get it. Alright, we'll check back in a minute. Alright, so I brought with me one of these infrared thermometers. It just measures a surface temperature, but we'll see how good this is, see if it works. I'll take a whole bunch of different temps at all the different things here. Alright, let's first start with the water. Alright, so it was snowing a little bit earlier today, so air temperature is probably 35 degrees, I'm going to say. Let's see where it has the water at. It says the surface of the water is 43.5 degrees. 44. That's a very surface, so I'm sure a few feet down it's probably damn cold. Let's go over to the dredge. We'll do the exhaust temps. I don't know, 600-700 degrees at the elbow. The can, about 500 degrees. About 113. About 100. Today because I got the exhaust wrap on there, but yesterday the exhaust temperature didn't feel that hot. My wrap's starting to fall down. I gotta fix that. I'll probably have to glue it on with RTV seal it. But yeah, those are the temps that I got so far. Oh, let me check the hot water. To this, and thermometer says about 95 on the thermometer, so I'd say right about 90. This says 90, that one says 95, so right around there. It's been about 5 minutes. I'm gonna give her a little bit longer, see if any of the temps change. I just ran out of gas here, so I figured now would be a good time to do a little update. So what I got going on here is I added my my heater hose that I had left over to give you more of a real world example of what it's going on. So I got 40 feet, which I don't need. My hose is only like, my suction hose is only probably 20 feet, so I mean I'm not going to be much more than 20 feet away from the dredge, so I'll probably cut this to about maybe 25 feet or something like that. But right now I think I have about 35 feet of this heater hose in the water, and I had it going, and I did the temperature, and it was about right around 75-80 degrees coming out of here. So it goes from about 95 at the end of the tank, coming out of here it's about 75-80, so I'm losing not too much, but I am losing some in the water. I think that's about all I can muster out of this little engine. I mean, geez, those 6.5 horsepower motors, it's pumping water, it's pumping air, it's making hot water. I mean, I'm asking a lot of this little motor, but it's doing it. So yeah, I'll start it up and I'll show you the flow coming off of this. But I mean, it's better than nothing, you know. 80 degree water going into your wetsuit. I mean, you can't dive under the ice with this, but you know, this is a good little setup for early spring or something like that. Alright, I restarted, so let me show you the flow off the heater here. So that's what we got for flow. Not the best, but I mean, that's what we got going on. I wish it was more, but that's about all I'm gonna get. So now this hose here, this heater hose that I've running, it's about 35 feet. So I got 35 feet in this cold water. I'm gonna cut it to probably about 25 feet. So after I hack off about 10 feet of this hose, hopefully I'll get another degree or two back to the hot water. Alright, I'm gonna put the thermometer in here and see what we got. hovering right about 80 degrees with the water coming out. A little bit over 80, maybe 81, 82. We're just over 80, looks like. So when I cut maybe 10 feet off of the toes, maybe I can get to 85. That would be nice. Alright, so this is the final review. So I got hot water coming out of the mixing tank at about 95 degrees. It goes through right now 35 feet of heater hose that's in 40 degree water. At the other end coming out is about 80, 75 to 80 coming out. That's going to be going in my wetsuit. Like I said, I'm gonna cut about 10 feet off that heater hose because I only need maybe 25 feet coming off the dredge to my suit. So I might gain a degree or two. Other than that, everything looks good. No real leaks. I just gotta fine tune everything. I might be able to get a few more degrees if I insulate the mixing tank there. If I insulate that somehow, maybe I can boost up the temp a degree or two. And also, if I put a water jacket on the end of the exhaust, where the exhaust comes out of the motor, if I put another pipe over the pipe I have and then run water through that and back through the coils, I might get another degree or two, like a little preheater. Other than that, that's about it. Look at that one.